Hey lovely, Serena here. Good morning. I just woke up and I felt to share this video with a fresh mind, somewhat fresh mind, because someone asked me in email, I think, how do I know what is my primary repressed emotion? Like the primary repression, Scott has been mentioning this a lot because it's very important to recognize the primary repression, because then you also know your direction in inquiry, I think. Or you can see more things if you know what more tendencies in your life, and during inquiry if you know what's your primary repression, your primary repressed emotion. So just a quick explanation on what is primary repression, the primary repressed emotion. For me, for example, it's anger. It means that anger really wasn't allowed in the family to feel, to show, or express it. There was just no fucking way to do this. It was completely taboo, hidden. Even if it showed up in the family, it was completely repressed. So it means that whenever I expressed, felt, and expressed or showed my anger, I got hurt, or I lost mom, dad, whoever, or they shamed me. So these were the three options that I received if I expressed my anger. So I completely repressed it. I learned how to hide it, how not to show it, and over time it just felt that as if it wasn't there, because I developed my capacity of hiding anger to that degree. Like it felt as if it just wasn't there. It felt like this. I didn't think about that. It was just unconscious repressing of the anger, but I developed to that degree that it felt as if it wasn't there. It even didn't even came up as a reaction or something like this. It's not normal, yeah. So yes, and I remember. I think it started around 3 years old, when I was 3. And initially there was a reaction when I felt anger in reaction to something. I remember then the moment it came up, I felt like a being scared or something, and I felt like no, 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 something like this. It was just automatic. You can imagine I was 3 years old. So I felt the anger, and that was the reaction to the anger, and this reaction just reminded me not to feel it and not to show it, because you are going to get in trouble if you do this. So, but after a while, even this reaction to anger went away. It was just my reaction to certain situations wasn't anger anymore, but it was more like, and we are talking about years and decades of repressing and hiding anger. So my reaction when someone hurt me, or is in a situation or conflict when I supposed to set boundaries, my reaction was like people pleasing, becoming kind, lovely, nice, peaceful, loving, So it's just strange now to talk about that, And so just making sure that I don't get angry. So these were my reactions to other people's reaction to me when I was supposed to setting boundary or saying that it's not okay for me. I became like peaceful and loving, people pleasing basically. And yeah, my reaction to their anger changed because my reaction to my anger. So it just showed up on the outside in my relationships in that way, because my relationship to my anger was like this. And so I built my life around hiding, not showing, and repressing, pushing down anger. I built my personality and life around it. I was always the peaceful, the nice, the kind, the loving, so people liked me. They didn't even get angry at me or something like this, So my personality got built around that unconsciously. Now I'm talking about that, but it was completely unconscious, automatic repression since childhood, since 3 years old. And so, yeah, I was a yoga teacher. I had retreats and different retreats, and I was always in that topic, like helping people and teaching meditation, peacefulness, and these are all nice things. And I've done these things like anyway, because it's just part of myself. I just enjoy working with people, you know. But still, there was, so yeah, I use this part of my personality to repress and hide anger also. Yeah. And so here comes the explanation how to know what's your primary repressed emotion. Usually when I explain to people my example and I ask them, what is the emotion that was completely fully not allowed in your family or fully hidden, that it didn't even arise? What's that emotion that you couldn't even show or feel, that was taboo in your family and within yourself? Then they usually understand that, oh, okay, that's sadness or that's anger or whatever. But sometimes not. So then I explain it in a different way. Because usually when I explain to them that when I wanted to feel and express anger, then I started to default back into like feeling hurt, pain, being the victim, helplessness and hopelessness, because these were the emotions or sensations which were safe to feel in my family, within my family. So whenever I felt the anger reaction and I wanted to express it, I suddenly defaulted back into powerlessness, helplessness, and victimhood, basically, feeling like I'm a victim, because this was safe. So when I asked them, what was the emotion that was completely hidden and taboo in your family, and what was safe in the family and for you, they usually recognize that maybe this was sadness and loneliness, like this type of vulnerable emotions. And when they start to feel it, when this is their primary repression that was hidden in the family, the sadness, for example, then often they start to feel angry, like, because it's easier for them, it's more safe for them to feel angry, like being angry at someone and expressing this, because they are repressing strongly the sadness and the vulnerable emotions. So it's quite the opposite. And for me and other people, it's anger that's completely unsafe. So I go back into, like, you know, like victim, helplessness, hopelessness, and fear, basically. So usually when I explain this, people just say, oh, okay, that's my primary repression, and I'm defaulting back into these emotions. But sometimes they don't get it, and I try to explain it from a different angle. So when I start to, so usually I ask, if you express anger, if I see that anger is their primary repression, if you start to express anger, what are the emotions that after a while they start to show up? Like, for example, for me, I start to express anger, and this helplessness feeling starts to come up, and fear, basically, strong fear starts to come up. Because if you start to express a certain emotion, and then while expressing it, you notice that different emotions come with it, like, for example, fear for me, then chances are that probably this is your primary repression. If you start to express anger and different emotions and sensations strongly starts to come with it, and you see yourself shrinking back into these emotions, then probably that emotion is your primary repressed emotion. And let's check it. If you have the feeling that something is your primary repression, then just start to inquire into it, start to feel and show and express it in your inquiry, and just check if you start to, and just check if different energies or emotions starts to come with it, because chances are then that's your primary repression. So this is another way of explaining this, to find out what's your primary repression, and let me know if it helps, or if you still don't know what's your primary repressed emotion. because yeah, I think it's helpful. It's helpful. So again, just check it with certain emotions which you cannot feel and allow, and just pull up mom and dad, for example, and say that I can feel and express this anger, for example. It's just an example. And while you are expressing it, just check if different emotion starts to come in behind the anger, and they become like stronger or something like this. Yeah, let me know how it goes. Hope it helps.